Welcome to Gootz's Disney Pod. I'm your host, Ray Gootz, and today is all about Revenge of the Sith. And with me is the Star Wars expert here in the comedy field, Troy Bond. Troy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm honored that you called me the Star Wars expert. It's like two Reed Richards variants talking to each other when we talk about Star Wars.
Well, I remember you, I remember when I first met you, you knew everything about Star Wars, bro. So,
Yeah, man. When I was a kid, we didn't have cable. So we had the Empire. My dad had the Empire Strikes Back on VHS because my mom was sick of watching Rugrats in Paris. I guess I would watch that so many times. So she was like, they popped in Empire, and Billy D. Williams looks just like my grandfather, and I thought my grandfather was Lando Calrissian. So I watched that movie every day. I still do. That's still my comfort movie. And just the rest of it built up from there. It's still a huge obsession.
there you go. So, Troy, how long have you been doing stand-up?
I guess 8 years. 2014 is when I really started taking it seriously. I started in Connecticut when I was in high school still, but right away I started going to the city and doing mics and stuff. So I'd say seriously since 2014, 8 years.
Wow. And what made you want to get into it?
I always had a love for stand-up. My dad loved comedy when I was growing up. He was an amateur wrestler, and we went on a lot of road gigs together. And he was also a DJ, so he hated listening to music in the car. We'd always listen to comedy albums. So by the time I was 6, I'd memorized Eddie Murphy, Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, and I just always had a love for comedy. And it just was something that sort of called to me when I was in high school with a 1.0 GPA. I was like, yeah, I think that's this is it for me. This is what I'm gonna do. And I moved right out of high school, and I've been doing it since, and I haven't looked back.
That's fucking dope, man. Yeah, that's good. I wish I didn't go to college. I wish I just went right into stand-up. All college was like a bill I could have been spending on,
What did you go to
headshots.
college for?
Communications.
That's gotta help with stand-up, though.
You would think that they really do that much.
Yeah, no, I mean that's an interesting one. Did you want to do other stuff after communications, or you just what, fuck this?
I knew I wanted to do stand-up, but my family was like, "Well, you got to go to college." And then after I got done with college, I went to work at Caroline's, and then eventually started doing stand-up. So,
how long have you been doing stand-up?
I've been doing stand-up part-time since around 06, 07, full-time since 2015.
Damn. Yeah, I remember when you went full-time, but I didn't know you went that far back. You were actually the first and only show I ever barked for years ago.
Oh yeah, the Monday Night Gootz or something.
Yeah, I remember being so bad at it that I walked away.
You were
it was 2 hours into the show. Yeah, I was like, I'm not even gonna bother Ray for a spot. I was so I would bark people into the show, and they're like, we're not going to that. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Yeah, I was
so bad.
I'm bad at barking too. Well, I haven't tried it recently, but I was really bad at barking. What I would do is I would go they only had me bark a few times. I would go by the Toys R Us store, bob around the store, and then throw the flyers in the garbage. And then I couldn't get. I just can't. I headlined this weekend, and I could barely sell my CDs. I did the thing at the end of the show where I held up my CD, and I was like, "Yeah, I got a CD after the show." And then I went to my final joke, and then at the end of the show, people were just leaving, and I was just like, "Bye, yeah, bye." I'm just bad at selling things and so promoting.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's one of those things where you get to be your own boss, but then when it comes time to being your own boss, doing things like that, you're like, oh, I wish someone else would do this for me.
Yeah, I wish. Now I know why guys like Bill Burr and stuff had people sell their merch.
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel ugh, they're only doing it. You know what I'm saying?
I know, especially after doing this great, huge show, a headliner set, which is a long, fun, entertaining set. Oh, there's my girl. I haven't seen her since your amazing house shows.
Here's Matilda.
Saved us during the pandemic. Matilda and I hung out. She gave me a tongue bath every night. She cleaned my face every night. Matilda was the headliner at your backdoor shows, man. That was the highlight of my pandemic.
Yeah, Matilda's a attention whore. So They're kind of like co-hosts.
That's great.
Too.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. After you have this killer set and you're like fucking, you're feeling the crowd, and then at the end, and some comics are like John Witherspoon was good at this, and so was Paul Mooney. But then at the end, at the end you got to be like, could you buy my shit? Like I'll be in the lobby. Like it just, and now here's my final bit. Here's the thing about getting married. It's like what?
And can anyone give me a ride home?
Yeah. Also, like I have this phone bill I need to pay. Can anyone?
Yeah, please. Can anyone keep my hot water on?
Yeah. But so you got into Star Wars super young. And how old were you when Revenge of the Sith came out?
I was 10. 2000. Actually, I was 9. 2005. I remember going to see all 3 of the prequels. Like Phantom Menace was my earliest memory. I think I like gained consciousness when Watto was negotiating with Qui-Gon. I was like 3. I vaguely remember that. I remember going to see Attack of the Clones, but I really remember going to see Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, and you saw it in theaters. Yeah, so you did see it in theaters.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters May 19th, 2005.
Okay.
I remember that. My dad pulled us out of school to go see it.
Well, did you go opening day, or I went the Thursday, the night before, like the midnight premiere?
Yeah, I didn't go to the midnight premiere. We definitely went the night. We went the day of. We went to like the noon show the day of. I remember I punched a kid in the face when we were lining up in school to go into the classrooms because I was like, apparently, I don't remember this, but apparently I was spazzing out and I just kept like saying Revenge of the Sith over and over and over again because like I had like read the book. This is like back when they put the books out and the video games before the movie because like, everybody knew how the story was going to end. So, like I played the game, which had an alternate ending, so you still didn't really know how it ended. But I read the book. I was just hyped and excited. I watched the trailer on it was like a website called like Mulberry Games or mulberrystreet.com. Anyway, the hype was real. On Real Player One, I watched the trailer. And some kid like touched me on the shoulder and called me a dork or something. And apparently I just turned around and punched him in the face when I was 9. And then my dad, anyway, who was going to pick us up, who didn't really give a shit because he just got done working like 12 hours. He's like, whatever, we're just going to see this movie. Let's go. We all went as a family to go see Revenge of the Sith. It was great.
That's fucking awesome. I went with like most of the staff at Caroline's at the time. Like 15 of the waiters. Like 15 of the waiters. I'm trying to think if there was a comic that went with us. Just a professional comedian. And I think like one might have, don't quote me. I think maybe Joe DeRosa went with us, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The timeline of that fits.
Yeah, because that's when he just started and shit. He was like friendly with the staff, but maybe he didn't. But I know like comics were talking about going with us, but I don't know if they did. But I remember I had a marathon of episode 1 and 2. And when you marathon all 3 movies together, and as soon as episode 2 ended, we went to the movie theater. Mm-hmm. When you marathon all those 3 movies together, you see like, wow, Palpatine had shit on lock. Like this whole trilogy is really about Palpatine.
Yeah, he had that shit down. And I think like the lore that came out of these 3 movies with Palpatine is like my favorite Star Wars expanded universe stuff. Like the Sith and the Legends stuff and everything they did with Clone Wars. I love Palpatine. I always loved Palpatine. I'm like I love hate with him coming back, but like in the end it was cool to see Ian McDermott play Palpatine again. But like it's Revenge of the Sith Palpatine is the best. The dude has the coldest monologues and just it's so great watching him unravel everything.
Oh, dude, and I think we talked about this because this wasn't a Gootz Disney pod. The first one you did the Gootz cast, which was I did a bunch of pandemic episodes. Well, at the height, I think we did one in April of 2020. But my favorite scene in practically all the Star Wars films is the opera scene where he talks about Plagueis the Wise to Anakin. Yeah. That's where he really turns Anakin into Darth.
George Lucas is in that scene right before Anakin goes into the opera house. Did you ever see that?
No, what is he doing?
Yeah, he plays you can see him because like Anakin, there's like that long shot of him walking up the stairs before he goes in to see Palpatine, and then you like by the door you see George and his daughter painted blue. They're like Pantorans, and they're just like two alien dudes going into the opera. And then he got a whole Clone Wars character from that. There was like 6 or 7 episodes with him in that. But that opera scene is the best. And it gave birth to the Darth Plagueis book, which I really loved. I don't know if you ever got a chance to read it. It's so good.
When did it come out?
Came out right before Disney bought it, so it was like
okay, so it's no longer in continuity.
Yeah, and the audiobook is really, really, really good, and everything in Darth Plagueis like sets up Phantom Menace and the rest of the universe too. But like it's like a 100-year story of like him when he was an apprentice, getting rid of his master, taking on Palpatine, bringing on Darth Maul. It's like really like it's that old school Dave Filoni, George Lucas prequel-esque kind of book. And the audiobook sounds like the guy who reads it sounds like Dracula. So it's like it's spooky.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool. I gotta track that out.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's a good one. So I think that not only is this the best prequel film, I think it's one of the best Star Wars films, period. What's your take on Revenge of the Sith?
I agree. I was thinking about it before we got on because I love Attack of the Clones. I would rather watch Attack of the Clones twice.
Oh, really? Wow, that's crazy.
Phantom Menace once. I know. Yeah, I think it's also a big part of that is nostalgia for me, like because I was coming up around that time, and I remember the merch, and I remember the toys, and that was when I was just getting old enough to realize what it was. I mean, I love Phantom Menace, but Revenge of the Sith is by far the best one. The only thing that always kind of gets me with it is like, could they have crammed anything more into those last 10 minutes? Like it goes from Luke and Leia born to Yoda's going to hiding to Obi-Wan's taking Luke in to we see Aunt and Beru and Padme, like all of this in like 10 minutes, like after just this huge emotion. I mean, I guess like it works, but there's so much that like they even sort of ended up retconning it, right? With the Death Star at the end. That ended up being something that we then see built right before Rogue One or during Rogue One, and before it was like
I think they eventually revealed that scene takes place in the far future, not like because they make it look like Darth Vader gets up and that's like his first day on the job.
Yeah. Oh, Padme's dead. Cool. Let's go look at this thing.
Cool. Oh, I guess we're just gonna build this thing now. Sweet. Oh, here's my buddy Moff Tarkin. I love you, Tarkin. Oh, at least I get to work with my friend.
Yeah, that there's I mean it's still great to see, and I'm really excited for the Kenobi series because that's just I mean I love Revenge of the Sith, and that's going to be perfect.
I'm just wondering, I'm glad you brought that up. Just bring it up. How the fuck are they going to have a second match between Darth and Obi-Wan? Either Obi-Wan's got to get off the planet, or Darth's got to go to Tatooine. And then later on, when that little shuttle goes to Tatooine, he's got to be a complete fucking moron and be like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm just not going to look into that at all.
That's what I was going to say about Revenge of the Sith. Is like, one of my favorite things is they give to this royalty of Alderaan, and then she's totally protected, hiding in plain sight. And then Luke, they put him on a desert planet where his dad's mother is buried with the same last name. And Vader never once put 2 and 2 together that like, oh yeah, maybe that could be out there. And he knew
Owen and Beru, so it's like, he knew they why would he not never like just at least like think to himself like maybe I should like. Here's a great point. How come he never went and killed Wada? Maybe he does and freed the slaves and stuff.
True. There was also a comic years ago before they had the whole Maul was killed by Obi-Wan and Rebels. They had the comic where Maul tracked him down to Tatooine, and he always missed like big events by like this much. And one of the things was like Maul decapitated Watto, and then he ended up in that comic. It was cool. Maul got shot in the head by Owen, which was pretty wild.
Uncle Owen.
Uncle Owen shot him, because Maul had like murked Obi-Wan, and then he was gonna hit him, and then Owen was like, boom, deer hunter style, took him right out, and then he was like, get the hell off my farm, stay away from my son, you killed enough Skywalkers, boy. And but yeah, I think the way they're gonna do it with the Obi-Wan Vader is it's probably going to be this crazy Spider-Man Far From Home vision sequence where like they're both meditating and they both fight, and you see them like fighting across different platforms, because I think we'll probably get a few Clone Wars flashbacks with Ewan in the armor. But I think that's how they'll do it, because there's no other way. They can't do that, because then episode 4 is just that whole fight is boring.
I could see maybe Obi-Wan has to leave the planet for some reason. And he winds up in the same place as Darth, and they have a quick fight. But I just can't imagine why Darth wouldn't like. I can't imagine a place where Darth lets Obi-Wan go, or Obi-Wan lets Darth go.
The only way I could justify it is I remember one of the novelizations I read. It said that, or it's how they justified why that fight between two old dudes was so slow in A New Hope, and it's because Vader was kind of scared. Like the last time he saw Obi-Wan, he put him in this suit, and like they even he even extended his lightsaber a little bit. He's trying to keep back from him. So if he came across him in the Kenobi series, it would probably be oh, I haven't really been in this costume that long, and now Obi-Wan's back and he can totally take me out. I'm gonna just kind of keep back and like General Grievous style it, because Grievous did that a lot, because he was in those cybernetics and he always ran away when he saw Jedi, because he's like, okay, I can fight one of you, but I can't fight all of you.
Yeah,
maybe it would be that kind of thing. But I mean, I do agree. Who said Obi-Wan has to be on Tatooine all this time? Luke's fine. Nobody's coming for him. Nobody knows.
Yeah, I'm gonna go take a vacation.
Yeah, it would be funny if they did a CGI Mark Hamill little kid Luke. We're gonna get something like that. I thought that's what was gonna happen in Boba Fett. We'd see a CGI'd Adam Driver as a kid.
Well, he's 10 in I think it's 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, so he's 10.
Revenge of the Sith.
So I guess maybe they actually have a kid play Luke.
Why not?
Yeah, they
give him that old bucket hat.
Just bucket. Yeah, kid. You can play Luke. Fuck it.
Yeah, I would love to be like, if I got to be in Star Wars, I'd want to be like an Inquisitor, somebody who like gets to do some bad level stuff and then get murked. I want to have a cool death.
Yeah, like you're killing a bunch of people. Now you did something for Disney recently. Was that right?
Yeah, I did the television Discover Showcase last year. It was great. We had, there was this open call thing, and I did a monologue, and after a couple auditions, I ended up getting a call back. I met these other great actors. I got to work with some really great people over there, and I shot a little scene, and it's cool. Now I get to walk around with a Disney hoodie that they gave me. I just rub it in people's faces. I'm like, oh, you went to Disney World? I made Disney World, even though I really didn't. But like,
you did. You're a Disney legend.
I'm a Disney legend. Yeah, I'm one
step closer. You and Hannah Montana.
Me, Hannah Montana, and Troy Bolton. That's the alter ego now. That's the High School Musical kid, right?
Yeah, I think that is. Yeah, that's the Zac Efron version.
Zac Efron. Yeah. I'm gonna be. I'm gonna play him when he played Ted Bundy, but it'll be Troy Bolton as Ted Bundy.
Troy Bolton gets cast as Ted Bundy. That's hilarious. Well, maybe because I was thinking maybe now with your Disney connection, one day you could be in one of these Star Wars shows. They keep greenlighting them, so
I would love it. I'm not saying I've read for any of those or anything like that, but there's been stuff where like you get auditions and cold reads down the pipeline, and it's obviously very padded because they're feeling it out, and they love to grab new faces a lot of the time. But there's a difference between watching it and reciting it and feeling the nerd in it, and then getting a script and being like, oh man, I'm not sure how to say this. Like, it's crazy because there's so much pressure, but there's also so much fun in it too when you really boil it down and take it away. It's like doing stand-up, it flows. You just gotta flow with it, and also it comes and goes. If you have no expectations, and I'm a nerd, and I do a lot of calls with these agencies and management stuff, and this is behind me, so like instantly they're just like, oh yeah, this guy definitely didn't talk to a lot of girls in high school. He was reading comic books. He knows the dialogue.
But hey, listen, remember that guy tweeted out about Shang-Chi in 2018. And then in 2021, he was Shang-Chi. So
I know, man. You know who I want to play? I want to play the Human Torch.
There you go. You'd be a good Human Torch.
That's who I want to be. I'm method. I have like gallons of kerosene ready to go. All I'm waiting is the call from Kevin Feige. I live not far from you, which like there's a burn center in our neighborhood, so like we're good to go, man.
Yeah, yeah, you can just fix yourself. Just literally, this is how much I want it. Light yourself on fire, scream "flame on" while you're burning to death. Have Brian Kim dress up as the thing, put you out. What's up, boo?
Yeah,
It's
that's it,
clobbering
man.
time.
Yeah, and we'll get you with the camera, and we're set, man. That's a film right there. That'll be way better than the movie they did in the '90s. Remember that God Awful Fantastic Four they did back in the day?
Every Fantastic Four movie somehow gets worse and worse.
Dude, worse every time.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this: what do you think? What was your favorite scene in Revenge of the Sith? Which one do you go back to?
Oh man, I think the best. My favorite one is when they go arrest Palpatine. Like the walk down, like right when the doors open and you see the three of them walking down the hallway and their whole ping pong back and forth, and just it's top tier Star Wars. It's like wish we got Revenge of the Sith. We get a lot of it, but it's sort of the last time we see it, and sometimes I think that's why they put so much in, because at the time they didn't think they were going to make any more movies.
Yeah.
So like we see all of this great dialogue back and forth, but especially that scene right there, and also the Anakin turning in front of Palpatine. That's great. That's top tier. And you know, you can't Order 66. I remember crying as a kid, but that's some of the coolest stuff ever. Like who would have? That's incredible.
Especially after you watch the Clone Wars, you see all these characters that you learn to like really like just get slaughtered. Yeah.
Totally, yeah, and just the whole, it's perfect. It's that movie is Star Wars being what it is, which is Star Wars and nothing else. Like, what's yours? What's your favorite in that one? Because there's so much
two things I love. I love the opening sequence, which is I still think every time I put it on, it's one of the few scenes from the mid 2000s that still like overwhelms me. Like I can't believe they made this 15 years ago. Like there's so much going on when they're using the Jedi starfighters to get to Count Dooku. There's so much going on in that space battle all at once. It's like just like nothing. What I love about Lucas Star Wars is they constantly give you stuff you've never seen. Now I like Mandalorian. I haven't seen the Book of Boba Fett. I liked Rogue One, but it's all like been there, done that for me. You know what I'm saying? Whereas every Lucasfilm, there's always something that's like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Like this is something new, and that scene is like that. My other favorite is the final battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. I used to love the Yoda stuff. Now I wish like the Yoda stuff happened before. Like I wish the fights weren't broken up, weren't like cutting between each other.
Yeah. The best part in the Yoda stuff is great, but the best part of that whole scene is when he walks in and just murks those two guards to the wall.
Dude. I remember that getting a standing ovation in the movie theater.
Yeah. The thing that I don't really know holds up is what he does right after that when he pushes Palpatine back and like he goes like ass first into his chair. That's a little Jar Jar-y. I'm like, okay, this guy just killed all the Jedi and you just made him slip on a banana peel.
Yeah, I like that. You know, I think at the time, I remember the theater going ballistic for Yoda.
Yeah.
I think people thought like, oh, they're about to reveal something that we didn't know about. Because you're like, well, there's no way, wow, Yoda versus the Emperor, like no one expected that, and it kind of just ends with Yoda like retreating, which I was like, oh,
yeah. Once he lost his lightsaber, he just sort of he pieced out, which I always thought like was kind of anti Yoda, because like he would, but maybe also that's what Yoda became what he became by the time we see him in Empire Strikes Back because of that. He like, maybe sometimes you shouldn't just rely on that. But in his fairness, he did get the whole Senate thrown at him. Literally the whole Senate.
Yes.
That was really cool. I never thought I'd see anything like that before. Like you said, seeing stuff you never saw. When he just picks up the chairs and they're throwing them at Yoda, and then Yoda takes it back and then he spins it for some reason. I don't know. Maybe spinning it just makes it hurt more when it hits you. But then Palpatine just jumps off and you see the rope flutter. It's so cool. Amazing.
It was literally like they were destroying democracy. Like you're literally watching the Emperor destroy democracy with his hands. Yeah.
So cool. And Bail Organa picks him up with the space Corvette. That's cool. He's just a senator driving around with a muscle car. That's like if Ted Cruz drove around in like a 1968 Corvette. Like imagine that dude going to vote on major galactic civil wars, and he just has a car from Greece.
The other thing I love about this movie, and when I read about Hitler, when I read more about Hitler, I loved how he did this. Was Palpatine, like everyone's happy when Palpatine takes over and he forms the Empire.
Yeah.
And he does it kind of legally. He doesn't like fucking just start. The Jedi is one thing, but he turns everyone against the Jedi. He's like, no, Jedi was bad for the economy or whatever. We need an empire. And everyone's applauding. And it's like, that's how Hitler took over Germany. He didn't like fucking, he won the election fair and square. And then he turned it into, and everything Palpatine does is like within the rules. He doesn't like break the rules. He's playing both sides, but as he gets more power in the Senate and in the Republic, he's playing by the rules, which is what Hitler did. So I really, the older I get, the more I appreciate that. Padme's line, "This is how democracy dies," with thunderous applause.
Thunderous applause. Yeah, that's one of the and another thing that I really appreciated with the Hitler analogy is that's sort of what the Jedi realize it, but they sort of realize they've got themselves into this problem where they're in a war, and the guy who they reluctantly align themselves with now keeps pushing his limits, but doing it by legal means. And no matter what they do, they even have that line where it gets really bad, because you have to figure, even if the Jedi caught Palpatine, what would have happened? Yoda said it when they were like, when Mace Windu was like, well, the Jedi Council is going to have to take control of the Senate for a while to maintain control. And Yoda's like, okay, this is going to a dark place. That's exactly what would happen with Hitler when they were like, okay, well, we could overthrow him and put him in this, but we're going to have to take the party over. And they were like, yo, that's not going to work because we're about to go into a war.
Because because people had like this real cult of personality with Hitler, just like I'm sure they did with Palpatine. You know, I guarantee you there was a Joe Rogan saying that Palpatine's a good dude. No, there's comedy podcasts be like, Palpatine's great. These Jedi are super woke. Fuck them.
Yeah, there's somebody out there being like, did you guys know that the Jedi Council sit on the board for the midichlorian vaccine? Every single one of them are manipulating it. You don't want to hear the side effects. But like, it's crazy to me that when I was a kid, right? You think, how do these people not realize that this guy is an evil Sith Lord who just miraculously in 2 seconds turned everybody against the Jedi? When you're a kid, like, you're like, how stupid can these people be? When you're an adult, you're like, oh, I get it. I get it. It's scary, but you're like, I get it. On both sides, but like, especially that movie does it so brilliantly where there's a select few, and that's one of the things that the Rick McCallum stuff in Revenge of the Sith. Rick McCallum deserves a medal. The scenes of his that they cut out are heartbreaking. They cut out, I would have loved to have seen, there were so many scenes with Padme talking to what would have became the rebellion. That would have been so cool to have her mark on the originals, because she means nothing in the originals, but she was so important in the prequels. Her with the rebellion was cool. His whole idea for her confronting Anakin on Mustafar with a knife behind her back to try to change him back one last time. And then when she hears him talking crazy, she goes to stab him. Then Anakin kills her. That's great.
That would have been great. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, she's just too sad. It's too like she knows that he killed Sand people, and she knows that he killed children, and she's like, no, you're actually a good guy. Let's go to Applebee's. Let's
go to Dexter's Diner.
You don't mean this. And it's like, no, bitch. How many people does this guy have to kill? And you're like, yeah, I fucked up. I shouldn't have fucked up.
My favorite thing about that whole movie is R2 spends so much time being Luke's best friend. Not once does he ever mention, I watched your mom die. And I watched you come out of her right after it happened.
That's probably why Luke was weird with him in Last Jedi. Probably like down the road figured it out. It was like...
like, yeah, turn off for a while. We're done, man. Here's a
Yeah.
map if you need me, but that's for an apology.
It's pretty about,
I'm not
yeah.
coming back.
Bro, you're a fucking asshole. Yeah. I also love the fight scene, although again, like some of this stuff is like it feels like this should have been a different movie, but the Grievous Obi-Wan fight is pretty cool.
Oh, amazing. You know, Gary Goldman was supposed to play Grievous?
No, I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah. And they couldn't get him for whatever reason. So last minute, they just got this guy who works at Lucasfilm, Matthew Wood. And he's like the sound guy. And yeah, that's who does Grievous. That's why they were able to get the same voice in Clone Wars, because he was just some guy.
Was Gary Goldman in the Clone Wars?
No. It was the same dude who did him in Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, Gary Oldman was supposed to be Grievous. Then at one point, Grievous was supposed to be a 10-year-old child in a floating chair.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, George Lucas has this thing with kids sometimes. Sometimes it works when it's like Leia, but when it's like that, just doesn't. Imagine that guy fighting Obi-Wan.
That is wild, because that's that time frame was when Gary, because I met Gary, I started working at Caroline's 2003. Gary was opening for Dane Cook all over the country and shit. Right. So he would have been General Grievous, and he would have been Dane Cook's guy. His career would have been made with those two things. Could have just walked out with multiple lightsabers between Dane Cook's set
whole time and mic stands. Yeah. But no, yeah, I read just Sith was classic, man. Even just sitting back on it, I'm you know what I'm sad about is like I'm never gonna be that excited to go see a Star Wars movie again as I was for Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
that was true hype, because that was like, yeah, that's the last piece of the puzzle, you know, like the saga. And I was pretty excited for Force Awakens. I was really excited actually, and I enjoyed it. That was really great. And I was the last time I was really excited to see a Star Wars movie was Last Jedi, and then after that, I didn't give a shit about going to see them in theaters anymore. Like, I was so disappointed. I almost walked out of Last Jedi.
Last Jedi is. I just almost have a panel for that episode when I get to it, because that is one of the most disappointing movies, and the way that they reacted to fans basically calling the fans like incels and Trumpers.
Oh my god, I know. I know, man. There's good parts of that movie. I'd say there's like 15% good. And some of it, I'd say 5% of that comes from deleted scenes. But I was actually going through a breakup when Last Jedi came out, and this is how depressed I was. I went to go see that movie like 4 times just so I had a place to cry. Because there'd be something about the lightsaber being thrown and the Luke Skywalker milking a giant whatever. And just seeing the last 5 minutes with Broom Boy where I could just let it flow. Because I was just so depressed already, and that movie helped me cry more. But yeah, because I didn't appreciate the prequels as much when I was I loved them when I was a kid. Don't get me wrong, I loved them, but it's really like I never got to see the originals in theaters. I saw Empire Strikes Back during the pandemic when they did a screening.
Yeah, I remember it was like the summer, and like you and Brian went, right?
Yep, we went out there. It was a great screening, and there was a lot of people, man. It was really cool to see. But there's now the future of Star Wars is, and I think this is a positive. It's the series. It's the Disney Plus shows. That's really the way to do it. Week to week, 40-minute things. Don't make nobody, because the hype's just not there anymore for 2 years between every movie. And obviously, remember when they tried doing one movie a year, that didn't work for some reason.
Well, I went to see Solo opening night, and me and Alan Finn, and we ran to Astoria to see it. It was Friday night. There was 2 people in the theater besides me and Alan.
Dude, I was there at that theater in Astoria the Thursday before that. Same thing. I brought Chinese food, and I was able to eat it with impunity because there was nobody else in the theater.
Yeah. I just I was sitting. I'm like, and I really do think that's more The Last Jedi than Solo's fault. I think
100%, because Solo's way better than Last Jedi.
Yeah, and I think people were still burned. It was only 6 months after Last Jedi. I think people were still burned by Last Jedi, and they're like, I don't want to see this shit again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could do that with Marvel because everything is so spaced out and few and far between. But with one timeline thing like Star Wars, where it's a whole new canon. You can't, and it's just Solo wasn't the thing people were clamoring for at the
Yeah,
time. People
yeah.
didn't really
Nobody
care.
really wanted to see like nobody was cared how Solo came to be Solo. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just one of those things where like, okay, I don't think there's a lot here to
It
say.
honestly would have been a great time to do Mandalorian at that time.
Yeah,
That would have been fantastic because that would have rinsed the taste of Last Jedi out of people's mouth, and they could have fixed Rise of Skywalker around the same time.
yeah.
But as for the future, what do we got? Ahsoka coming up, Kenobi, and Andor. Sure, bring it on. I can take that in as a series.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the series all day long. That's 6 episodes. There were 2 great episodes of Book of Boba Fett that had nothing to do with Boba Fett.
Oh, I still haven't seen any of Boba Fett yet. That's how low my hype is. I still have to watch it.
Yeah. No, it's just, I mean, it was okay. It was good. It was like there's definitely books that were better about Boba Fett in Legends, but like the show was good. I'm never gonna complain about Boba Fett seeing him, man. That was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, people complained and I'm just like, listen, he's back. I mean, he wasn't around for years and everyone wanted him, and now here he is.
Yeah, and it's Tamura Morrison playing him, which is awesome. If they do a live action clone show, that guy is gonna be working.
Yeah.
You're gonna play every single clone.
Yeah, that guy stumbled on the role of a lifetime when they cast him the clone. And Jango Fett. No. That was like that guy. I don't know if that guy does that guy do anything else? I think he was again an Aquaman, wasn't he?
He was an Aquaman, right? Yeah, he's done a couple of things, and he also I found out he's a singer too. That's cool. Hearing Boba Fett sing.
Oh, maybe they should have him sing. They should have him sing at in Jabba's palace.
Remember that Justice League episode where Batman sang Kevin Conroy's Batman? That's what they should do with Boba Fett. He's no good to me, dead. Solo.
They should write lyrics to the Mandalorian theme song and have him sing it. My name is Boba. I'm a Mandalorian.
That's the funny thing about the Boba Fett theme song is if you listen, you didn't really hear it to the last episode, but the theme song is just a bunch of people saying Boba Fett over and over again. It's just Boba Fett over and over and over. Because I had the subtitles on and I was like, wait a second. This is crazy.
So Disney wrote Boba Fett.
But it says, singing Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the time, I really did think this was it for Star Wars. And I have to tell you, were you shocked? I remember waking up and I went to Facebook. I think somebody messaged me on a show. And this was like maybe 2012, 2013. I think it was 2012. And you said, isn't he bought Star Wars Episode 7 coming in 3 years? Were you how did you feel when you saw that?
Yeah, I lost my I was through the moon. It was crazy because I just started getting into Over the Moon, not Through the Moon. Through the Moon I would have killed everybody. Over the Moon. I just started getting into Clone Wars, which was like that was still a great time to be a Star Wars fan. It hadn't really died out if you were a big fan. Like I was following it week to week and I was playing a lot of the video games. But I was like, okay, 7. That's obviously what everybody always wanted, always. That goes far back than like that's Return of the Jedi timeline wise. Like people have wanted Episode 7 since like 83. That's what people wanted instead of the prequels. So the hype was there. And to be honest, it like we said, the hype lived up to it right up until the first 5 minutes of Last Jedi.
Yeah, and then it went all down the
That was a great time to be a Star Wars fan. I remember I was living in the city by the time the marketing for Force Awakens came out, and I stopped in front of the New York Public Library when the trailer came out in April, the one with like the long one, like the 2-minute trailer with Han Solo first in it.
Home.
Yeah, I cried like a baby. It was just overwhelming because that's what, as a Star Wars fan, you wanted your whole life if you grew up with it, And then I remember going to Toys R Us. It's like the last time I ever went to Toys R Us in Times Square for Force Friday, and I got like all the figures.
I was there on Force Friday. I went to Toys R Us here in Astoria.
Yeah. I went to that one too. I hit him up. That was crazy. That was like a once in a lifetime thing because I never got to really live. I mean, I remember it when I was a kid. Remember like orange everywhere when Revenge of the Sith came out because it was all the lava stuff with marketing. But that was crazy. I loved it. I remember a lot of people being rightfully skeptical when Disney bought it, but to be honest, the silver lining for me is always this: if Disney didn't buy Lucasfilm, Star Wars probably would have died into obscurity because there wouldn't have been what we have now. And there's been some good, there's been some bad. Overall, it's a positive because we get the good stuff always will outweigh the bad for Star Wars for me.
It's still like a surreal to me. It was surreal to me in '99, and it's still surreal to me. It's funny because now I've lived longer. It's still surreal to me like that there's more than like 3 or 6 Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Like, even the fact that there were 6, that took me like 10 years to like. But now like there's like almost 9 or 10 Star Wars films. It's like that's so insane to me because for so long it was just 3. It was just 3.
Yeah.
And that's all you had.
Yeah, it's cool because I collect a lot of the stuff like you do, and I'll be scrolling through Instagram and I follow a lot of the collectors, and I'll see stuff that's merch from like the early '90s, and I'll be like, oh man, I remember that, or like the Jabba the Hutt with the green goo, and you're like, oh, I remember when that came out, and it's I'm like you, forever it was. I've been. For me, it's always been 6 because I sort of grew up with the prequels, but it was just those 6. And the crazy thing is I get older and like I go see these movies with opening day, I'll see dads with their sons, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's never gonna be this for me again. Like those 6 are mine and special, and I'll know more than I'll ever know about anything new that they do about those 6 than I ever will about Disney movies. But it's also cool to see because I would never want to rob a kid of getting to experience Star Wars for the first time like that, especially nowadays. Like that kid gets to grow up with some of the coolest visual. That's all you care about when you're a kid is the visual stuff. He gets to grow up with the coolest resources ever, and experience this and have toys. And with Disney getting it, he can go to Disney Park and Galaxy Edge and stuff. Like great, that's what it's for.
Have you gone to Galaxy Edge?
I haven't, and I can't wait to go. That is on my bucket list. I will do that. But if I got a gun to the head and they said Galaxy's Edge of the Tonight Show, I'm on the first flight to Millennium Falcon.
I heard when you go, you have like an Imperial officer as your tour guide, and if you're wearing anything with like Luke, or they call you Rebel Scum, and if you're wearing like Imperial stuff, they're like cool with you, like. But
so
cool.
If
you have something if you bring up something that's not Star Wars universe related, they just act confused. Like silence Rebel Scum if you're like, hey.
Oh man, that's so crazy that we get to exist at the same time as that. The Marvel one looks insane too. I gotta get down there just once in my life.
I've never been to Disneyland or Disney World.
You've never been? That seems like Gootz Alley right there, man.
I know. And it's funny, when I went to see my family in California, my cousin and her friend are like they have the year pass. And they go every day. They hang out there. The one in LA, Disneyland, and I just never been. I gotta go. I'll probably go with her next time I go to California.
Yeah, you gotta go. My friend went and got me. That's where I got that Rebel pilot jacket from. Mm-hmm. It's great. Fits like a glove. I have so much stuff that's down there. I gotta go. I have to like put myself in a massive credit card debt to go down there, and it's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
But you gotta do it. You gotta have the blue milk.
Gotta have the blue milk. Yeah, man.
Yeah. The funny thing I heard is that people walk around the park with a baby Yoda, and they both had baby Yodas. My cousin and her friend, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is a big thing now. You take pictures different places with your baby Yoda." And I'm like, "Wow, like Star Wars, like Baby Yoda was one of the smartest things they ever did."
By far, and Jon Favreau. What's his name? The guy who did Werner Herzog. His thing was he was like they were gonna make it CGI, and he was like, "Make it a puppet, you cowards!" And they made it a puppet for that reason, and that made it so much more real. And Donald Glover was working on Solo at the time. I was talking to Jon Favreau about Baby Yoda. And he was like, keep it a secret. Don't reveal it at all. Once you do, people are going to go crazy. And I was, me included, like I remember watching the first episode of Mandalorian and being like, this is really cool. This is good Star Wars. And at the end, seeing that baby, I cried like a baby. I was like, what? Yeah. What is that? And then when he used the Force, I was like, that's it. He's Force sensitive. And we still don't really know. There was some clues.
We still
in
don't
Book
really
of
know
Boba
what Yoda, what the species is called, or like where they come from, or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, don't spoil it if Boba Fett reveals it. Like,
No. They don't reveal it. I did find out the other day that Yoda was supposed to have a first name. George Lucas is like his name was going to be Minge Yoda.
That sounds very Jewish.
Luke, you got to use the Force. Your sinuses are clogged. But no, yeah, there could be. I mean, but when I read that, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like Palpatine's first name, Sheev.
That's a very weird name.
Yeah. Tarkin's first name is Williff Tarkin. Yeah,
I guess
man,
Han
but I
got
love
off
it.
easy with Han Solo.
Han. There's so many. They still don't know how to do that. It's regional.
Yeah, everyone kind of has like some weird European first name. Han, Wilfred. What'd you say? PB.
Willow.
Shiv, Palpatine.
Sheev, yeah.
Sheev. These are all like weird European like carpenter names.
Yeah, Baby Yoda's Grogu. That's an interesting one. That's like the most Star Wars name ever.
Yeah, Grogu. Yeah, I still call him Baby Yoda. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not used to calling him Grogu.
Someone yelled at me like that's his slave name. Call him Grogu, and I was like, dude.
You know who they really won over with that was like Facebook moms.
Yeah.
That's really it. That's marketing right there, man. And like I know people who don't care about Star Wars at all who got into it because they started watching Mandalorian because of Baby Yoda, and then they were like, well, might as well just watch them all now. And they're easily digestible now with all this other lore. That's a great thing too. It's like that's a good time to watch because it sort of takes place after everything, but you don't know everything, and it's cool to go along and see. And I'm grateful for it, man. Why not?
Yeah, why not? The funniest thing though to me is I love the fact that the cartoons are in continuity, but it is so hard to get people. Like, I had people who love Mandalorian. They're watching Book of Boba Fett, and they asked me about Ahsoka Tano, and I'm like, you gotta. I think even like my buddy Mike Racine, who I was like, you gotta watch Rebels and Clone Wars. They're like, I'm not. And it's
my God, it's so you're robbing yourself.
Yeah,
that stuff is better than some of the movies.
Yeah, no, Clone Wars has some fucking amazing shit go down, and I'm like, you gotta like, I'm not doing that, and I'm like, I can give you a list of episodes to watch. I'm not.
I just started a Clone Wars rewatch. It's the best. I'm looking forward to. I think we're gonna see some live action Clone Wars stuff in Kenobi.
I think, and also Hayden Christensen is also in Ahsoka. So
yes, he is, baby.
So I think we're gonna see a lot of flashbacks, and it should be.
Man.
It's gonna be a fun couple of years, and then Taki. The guy who made Thor, his next movie, who just in the new Thor is coming out in July.
He's doing Star Wars.
And that logo where it's all in stones, very 70s. I think he can make something interesting.
No, and just keep giving him to people like that. Taika's done great with Star Wars. Bryce Dallas Howard did a great job. She directed two of the best Mandalorian episodes and probably the best episode of Book of Boba Fett this season. Keep giving
I gotta watch Book of
like
Boba
that.
Fett before I finish this season of the podcast because
I
gotta be able to talk this shit with you. You know?
Yeah, when it's out, text me. I'll come back on.
Yeah. Oh boy, Troy, where can people find you on social media and stuff?
Troy has Ebola. That's me on all social media. Right now, I just put out a clip from when I was on the Jerry Springer show last week on Cannoli Fans. You can check us out there. But yeah, man, thanks for having me on. I love getting a nerd out with you, dog.
Thank you, brother. You know what? I think I might do a panel show for Last Jedi. You want to come back for that? We can shit on it.
Hell yeah, I want to come back for Last Jedi panel.
We'll do that shit. Next week, speaking of the Clone Wars, next week, I'm going to do the Clone Wars movie with Brian Kim. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you so much, Troy.
You're the best, dog.
You're the best, homie. Guys, we'll see you next week for the Clone Wars movie from 2008.